Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the British type of climate. This is going to be the fourth climatic region in the series of climatic region which we have started for the geography. So first of all, to give you a brief introduction about British type of climate, this is the climatic region which remains permanently under the influence of westerlies wind all around the year. And it is due to this region, this area also suffers from and experiences large number of cyclonic activity. And since this is an area lying in the higher latitude, upper latitude, the kind of cyclone that develops in this region is temperate cyclones. That is very different from tropical cyclone, which we face in case of India. So the cyclonic activity in typically of Britain are those regions are called as British type of climate. The other geographical term used for such climatic region is simply it is called as cool, temperate, western margin climate. The nomenclature is very simple. Cool because obviously these regions are lying in the upper latitudes, higher latitude, temperate region. Western margin because this climatic region is observed or this climatic region generally has developed in the western part of the continental landmass, and many times since large area of this particular climatic region lies in the northwestern European area. This is also called as Northwest European maritime climate. Now let us look at the distribution on the world map where British type of climate has developed. First of all, obviously, if you look at Northwestern Europe, the British type of climate covers the entire Great Britain, and then it extends all the way in the north up to Norway and Sweden, and then in the east it extends to countries such as Belgium, France, the Netherlands, and also slightly to the south in the Iberian Peninsula of Portugal and to somewhat in the Spain region. So this is the region where we can see the highest or the largest land area is experienced in this particular climate. On the other hand, if we go in the if we go in the Northern America, what we can see is that is a narrow strip of land on the western coast of Canada, which is called as British Columbia, is the region that experiences this particular kind of climate. This climate has not developed to a greater extent in the east in this particular region because of the presence of Rocky Mountains. It is these Rocky Mountains that prevent the westerlies wind from penetrating deep inside this peninsula, and that is why just to the eastward strip of Rocky Mountains we can see development of this particular region. If we talk about the southern hemisphere, in Africa, we do not have such climate because Africa does not extend to such low latitude, such high latitude in the southern hemisphere. But in South America, in a narrow strip of land in the Chile, we have development of climate. And similarly, if you look at Australia and New Zealand, in the lowermost part of Australia, we have a small island that is called as Tasmania, and almost the entire southern part of New Zealand actually experiences this particular climate. So overall, this is the distribution, geographical distribution of British type of climate. Now let us try to understand the most important facts, that what are the major climatic characteristics of this particular climatic region. So first, if we talk about the temperature conditions of this particular climate, the average or annual temperature range of this region is low and ranges somewhere between 5 to 15 degree, which is very low as compared to the regions which are located at the same latitude. And the reason behind low annual temperature range is simply because of what we can say is maritime influence, because these regions are very close to the oceans, and that is why due to continuous movement of the sea and land breezes during day and night, as well as in the summer and winter, maritime influences causes decline in the annual temperature range. And it is due to this maritime influence, we can also understand the area experiences very mild summer. That means temperature does not become very higher during summer, and winters are also not very cold. There is a very lesser chance that temperature can go below 0 degrees Celsius, and this winter are also moderate in nature. So mild summer and moderate winter, mainly due to maritime influence, is one of the major characteristic of this particular type of climate as far as the temperature is concerned. The other influencing factor that affect the temperature and rainfall also are North Atlantic drift, which is an example of ocean current. Actually, if you look at the map, this particular map, what we can say that in this particular regions we have ocean current that moves from equator like this, then it goes like this, and then we have North Atlantic drift that is affecting this entire area. And since North Atlantic drift is a warm ocean current, it produces a warming effect along the northwestern European coast. And it is due to this region the temperature remains higher even during winter times, and ports do not freeze, ports harbors remain functional throughout the year. Second, As we have discussed, this area comes under the influence of westerlies, and since westerlies move from ocean to land, they causes rainfall also in the coastal areas, and also due to the sea wind that is being carried by westerlies, it has a moderating influence on the temperature. The second important characteristic we can talk about is the rainfall conditions. So as we know that Britain experiences rainfall throughout the year, and these are adequate amount of rainfall largely because of the westerlies wind that we have just discussed. These are example of onshore winds, and since they move from Atlantic Ocean toward these land masses, they bring with themselves large amount of water vapor, large amount of moisture, and thus causes heavy rainfall in this coastal area. However, in the winter times, as the number of temperate cyclone developing this region suddenly increases, the highest or maximum amount of rainfall this area receives is during the winter, not during the summer. This is something that we have to remember and keep in mind. And also, as we know, that rainfall is caused by westerlies wind, temperate cyclone moving from sea to land. Obviously, the maximum amount of rainfall is recorded near the coastal areas. And as we move from coastal area to the eastern part, gradually you see continuous decline in the rainfall. So, rainfall decreases between west to east part of this particular climatic region. So, these are three major points about rainfall characteristic of British type of climate. Now, the most important point which we have to remember about this particular climatic region is that this climatic region experiences four distinct seasons around the year. We have summer season, then we have autumn season, followed by winter, followed by spring. So, first of all, if you talk about the summer season, summer is very, very long as well as sunny, because the during the summer season the sun is moving toward tropic of Cancer, and thus this area receives good adequate amount of sunlight. Then after summer we have the beginning of autumn season. Autumn season is when you have very strong gusty winds that start to blow through this particular climatic region, and this is also the time when the deciduous trees that are found in this particular climatic region start to shade their leaves so that they can conserve their water in the dry winters. And thus as the autumn begin to end, the leaves of the trees have been shaded out. The entire forest look like barren nature. Winter is characterized by cloudy skies, foggy and misty mornings, as well as large number of days basically receive heavy amount of rainfall. And then we have the beginning of spring. Spring is considered as one of the most driest and most refreshing season, especially since 3-4 months of winter has happened in this particular area. The entire landscape looks quite barren. It is kind of dull kind of weather because of the snowfall sometimes that happens, and also because of the gray skies. And as soon as the spring arrives, it produces a kind of sense of refreshing or refreshment after the depressing kind of winter. So this is all about the climatic characteristic of this particular climatic zone. Now, if you talk about the natural vegetation of British climate, as we can see that this area is largely populated with deciduous trees who shed their leaves during the autumn season, mainly to conserve their moisture, conserve their water in the coming winter season. The most important point about the natural vegetation in this climatic zone is that trees are found in pure stand. Pure stand means over 1,000 of square kilometers or thousands of hectares, you have a single species of trees that is lying everywhere. This is called as pure stand of tree, where there is not diversity is not very higher. And this is very, very important for commercial utilization, because in the equatorial and tropical region, the problem is that though the tree quality is of very high, the wood quality of trees are very high, the diversity is very huge, and that is why within 1 square kilometer in equatorial and tropical areas we will have more than 100 different species of tree. That makes it very difficult to commercially cut and exploit it. But in this particular climatic region, since we have one species of tree covering the entire area, what will happen? The commercial utilization will become very, very easier. Not only that, the space between two trees are quite good. That means we can say on the ground vegetation is sparse in nature, that also allows easier access to the forest and easier transportation of the wood logs that has been cut. And that is why timber industry is very well developed in this particular area. Also, these deciduous trees have hardwood quality of wood, and this is something which is beneficial for both to be used as a fuel as well as for several other industrial purposes. So that is why natural vegetation plays a very important role in economic development of this particular region. If you look at this particular picture, you can clearly see this is the example of how forest in the British type of climate look like. You can see you have a single species of tree that is covering the entire forest, and there's good enough spaces for moving, for transportation, for cutting the trees and then moving the wood log, and that is why economic utilization is much more easier. On the other hand, you talk about those part of the British climate where we have abundant amount of water due to nearness to the rivers or lakes. We see trees such as willow trees, which are very popular because these trees are also used for manufacturing of cricket bats. We also have alder trees that are growing in the high water conditions area, and then we have aspen tree that also grows in this particular region. So in the low lying regions where we have abundant water availability, willow, alder and aspen are the major type of tree that we find in this particular region. Now coming to the economy of British climate, what we can understand that market gardening is one of the most important form of agriculture that is practiced here, and it is believed that especially in the northwestern Europe where the British climate exists, the market gardening is carried out in the most extensive scale in the world. Market gardening basically refers to, that means you have a large urban center, a big urban center, and around this big urban center you have farmland in which fresh fruits, vegetables and other different items are grown here, and then also dairying is practiced, the fresh milk is collected here, and all this is supplied to the urban center. That means the nearby areas to this urban center is acting like a garden for this particular market. The reason behind development of market gardening is very simple, because this is one of the most industrialized part of the Europe. This is one of the most highest population density of Europe exists here. So due to this large urban population and high population density, as well as high level of industrial development, causes development of market gardening, because the scope of such economic activity and the profit from carrying out such economic activity is quite immense and huge. Now obviously, since the products that are being produced around this market center are perishable in nature, for example you have fruits, vegetable, milk and milk based item, they need to be supplied to this market center, urban center, in a very short time period, and that is why the entire area is actually connected very well with roadways, railways and other means of transportation, and these perishable products are supplied to urban center via trucks and other ships also many times. So that is why it is also sometimes referred as truck farming. For example, if we talk about Australia, we have a small island to the south of Australia that is called as Tasmania, and Australians refer Tasmania as a garden state, because if you look at this here, this is our Tasmania, and from Tasmania you will see that every day large number of high speed boats carry vegetables, food products and different types of milk products, and then transfer it to the mainland Australia for the consumption purposes. So same thing happens in the northwestern Europe, and same thing happens between Australia and Tasmania. This is, we have a strait here, a narrow water body that's connecting two large water bodies. On this side we have the Indian Ocean, and on this side we have the Pacific Ocean, and thus we have this strait here that is called as Bass Strait. The other important economic activity that is carried out in this particular climate region is what we can call as mixed farming. In mixed farming, in simply we can define as a practice of carrying out arable farming, that means sowing and cultivation of crops in a flowed region, as well as pastoral farming that refers to rearing of the cattle and other animals around the same area. So if you look at from this particular picture, we can see nearby you have the farmland, plot land is there where crops can be cultivated, and then here you have grasslands where the cattle and other animals like sheep and goats are also raised. So this method of farming is what we can call as mixed farming. If we talk about the major crops that can be grown in this particular region, so wheat is the most predominant crop that is cultivated here, and then the second number we have barley, and large number of barley is also used in the production of beer. So beer production, if you remember, Netherlands or England is there, Belgium is there, these countries are very well known producer of beer and also many times wine in the world. Not only that, since cattle rearing is being done here, this area also experiences intensive dairy industry, dairy based industry, and meat production industry, which is largely animal based industry. So this is overall we can understand as far as the mixed farming is concerned. The third most important activity that is carried out in, especially in the England and New Zealand region of this particular climate, is the rearing of sheep. And sheep rearing is largely done for the purpose of either taking the wool or selling the wool, or the sheep are also sold as a mutton after the mutton product for the consumption in the urban center. If we talk about in Britain, it is the foothills region of the Pennine Mountains. The well-drained uplands are there where where rainfall is abundant, where water availability is abundant. The chalk and limestone scraplands. These are the area where the sheep rearing is carried out. On the other hand, the second most important country where this is one of the most important economic occupation is New Zealand, and it is the Canterbury Plains of New Zealand where large number of people are engaged in sheep rearing, and it is believed that New Zealand has highest number of sheep per capita of population. And this we can see evident from this particular data that New Zealand supplies two-thirds of mutton and one-sixth of wool export to the world, despite it carrying only despite it is having only 4% of the global sheep population. So that is why you can understand how intensive activity such as sheep rearing is being carried out in the British type of climate. So that is all about this particular type of climate. I hope you understood about the major climatic features and the other associated characteristic. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your fellow aspirants, and subscribe to our channel for more such helpful content. Thank you.